I stood on my parents' porch that Thanksgiving night, looking through the window at 40 people laughing and talking inside. For 32 years, I believed family was the safest place on earth. I would have done anything for them. I did do everything for them. But that night, my mother taught me the most painful lesson about what I truly meant to those I loved most. It all started with one scream that shattered everything I believed. Before we begin this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. If you believe family should be built on respect, not just money, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Now let me take you back to the moment when everything I believed about family love came crashing down. My name is Stephen, and I grew up in a modest house in suburban Ohio. Nothing fancy, just a 3-bedroom home with a small backyard where my dad used to grill on summer weekends. My father, Richard, worked as a plumber for over 25 years. His hands were rough from years of hard labor, but his heart was gentle. My mother, Linda, worked part-time as a retail clerk at a department store downtown. She had a strong personality, always wanting things done her way, always comparing our family to the neighbors. I have a younger sister named Kristen, 4 years my junior. Growing up, money was always tight in our household. I remember my parents arguing about bills late at night when they thought we were asleep. I learned early that nothing in life comes free, and that lesson shaped everything I became. My mother had this habit of measuring success by dollars and cents. Whenever the Johnsons next door bought a new car, she would sigh and look at my father with disappointment. Whenever someone in the extended family got a promotion, she would bring it up at dinner, asking why we could not have the same. I grew up feeling like I needed to prove something, not just to myself, but to her. I was a good student, not because I was naturally gifted, but because I understood that education was my ticket out of financial struggle. I studied hard, stayed up late, and earned a full scholarship to Ohio State University. My parents were proud, but my mother's first comment was about how much money I would make after graduation. Not congratulations. Not that she was proud of my hard work. Just money. During college, I worked 2 part-time jobs. One at a campus bookstore during the day, another at a pizza place on weekends. I never asked my parents for a single dollar. I knew they did not have it to give, and honestly, I did not want to hear my mother's comments about being a burden. So I figured it out on my own. After graduation, I landed a job at a respected accounting firm in Columbus. I started at the bottom, working 60-hour weeks, learning everything I could. 8 years later, I had climbed to the position of senior financial analyst. My salary was good. I bought a nice apartment downtown. For the first time in my life, I felt financially secure. But then everything changed 5 years ago. My father had an accident at work. A pipe burst unexpectedly, and he fell off a ladder trying to fix it. He injured his back severely. After months of physical therapy, the doctors told us he would never be able to do heavy labor again. At 61 years old, my father's career was over. The disability payments were not enough, not even close. My parents faced the very real possibility of losing their home. The mortgage payment was $1,800 a month, and with only my mother's part-time income and Dad's meager disability check, they were drowning. I did not even think twice. I called my mother and told her I would take over the mortgage payments. She cried on the phone, thanking me over and over. For a moment, I felt like a hero. I felt like I was finally giving back to the family that raised me. But it did not stop there. My father needed medications that insurance did not fully cover, $300 a month. My mother's car broke down and she needed transportation to work. I bought her a used Honda for $8,000. Kristen and her husband Derek had 2 kids by then, and she was always calling about school expenses, soccer uniforms, birthday parties. 100 here, 200 there. It all added up. At the peak, I was giving my family around $3,000 every single month. That was more than half of what most people earn. But I never complained. I told myself this was what good sons do. This was my responsibility as the eldest child, the one who made it out of poverty. I was supposed to take care of everyone. The first sign that something was wrong came about 2 years into this arrangement. I drove home for my mother's birthday, excited to surprise her with a weekend visit. I brought flowers, a nice gift, and a card I had spent an hour picking out. When I walked through the door, my mother looked up from the couch and said, "Did you bring the check for this month?" Not hello, not thank you for coming, not even a smile, just a question about money. I handed her the envelope with the mortgage payment, and only then did she hug me. It felt transactional, like I had just paid an entry fee to receive her affection. I pushed that feeling down and told myself she was just stressed about bills. She did not mean it the way it sounded, but it kept happening. Every phone call started the same way. "Stephen, did you send the money yet?" Every visit home came with a list of new expenses. "The roof needs fixing. The water heater is making strange noises. Your sister needs help with the kids' dental bills." It never ended. I remember one particular phone call that still haunts me. I had just received a promotion at work, a big one. I was so excited that I called my mother immediately to share the news. I told her about my new title, my new responsibilities, how proud I was of how far I had come. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then she said, "That is good. So you can help out more now, right? That was it. No congratulations, no expression of pride. Just an immediate calculation of how my success could benefit her wallet." I felt something crack inside me that day, but I plastered it over with excuses. She is just worried about money. She does not mean to sound that way. She loves me in her own way. My sister Kristen was even worse, though. I did not want to admit it at the time. She married Derek right out of high school. He was a charming guy, always talking about big plans and business ideas, but never actually following through on any of them. He jumped from job to job, never staying anywhere longer than a few months. Meanwhile, Kristen stayed home with the kids, which was fine except that they lived way beyond their means and expected me to make up the difference. One incident stands out in my memory. Kristen called me crying, saying they desperately needed $5,000 to repair their roof. Water was leaking into the kids' bedroom. How could I say no? I wired the money that same day. A month later, I saw pictures on social media of Kristen and Derek on a beach in Florida, cocktails in hand, with a caption about their amazing vacation. I felt sick to my stomach. I called Kristen and gently asked about it. Her response was sharp and defensive. "We needed a break, Stephen. We have been so stressed. Besides, you do not have a wife or kids to spend money on, so what is the big deal? What is the big deal? 5 years of sacrifice, thousands upon thousands of dollars, and to her, it was no big deal. I was just an endless supply of cash with no feelings, no needs, no life of my own worth considering. My girlfriend Monica saw what I could not. We had been dating for 2 years, and she was everything I needed. Smart, kind, grounded. She worked as a nurse at a local hospital, and she understood sacrifice. But she also understood boundaries, something I had never learned. One evening, after another phone call from my mother demanding money, Monica sat me down. "Stephen, I need to tell you something, and I need you to really hear me." Her voice was gentle but firm. "Your family is using you. Every conversation is about money. Every interaction is a transaction. That is not how family is supposed to work." I defended them, of course. I explained about my father's accident, about how hard things had been for them. Monica listened patiently, then said something that stuck with me for months afterward. "I know they have struggles, but so do you, and I have met your mother several times now. Do you know what she asks me every single time? How much money I make, not how I am doing, not about our relationship, just my salary. That is not normal, Stephen." She paused, her eyes filled with concern. "I am scared that one day you are going to realize the truth, and by then it will be too late. They will have taken everything from you, including your sense of self-worth." I did not want to believe her, but somewhere deep down I knew she was right. I just was not ready to face it yet. Thanksgiving arrived with the usual fanfare. My mother had decided to host the big family gathering at her house this year. She invited everyone. Aunts, uncles, cousins, second cousins, neighbors, family, friends. Nearly 40 people were expected to attend. It was going to be the biggest Thanksgiving our family had ever hosted. Naturally, I was asked to contribute. My mother called a week before with a list. A 20-pound turkey, the expensive kind. 6 bottles of good wine. Extra chairs and table settings. Oh, and $2,000 to cover the rest of the food and decorations. I agreed without hesitation. I even bought gifts for my parents and my nieces and nephews, wanting everything to be perfect. Monica could not come with me. She had to work the night shift at the hospital. Part of me was relieved. I did not want her to see how my family interacted with me. I did not want her pity. I drove to my parents' house early on Thanksgiving morning, my car loaded with everything they had requested. When I arrived, my mother barely looked up from the kitchen. "Put the turkey in the refrigerator," she said. "And the wine goes in the basement." No thank you. No acknowledgement of the thousands of dollars I had just spent. Just orders. I spent the morning helping set up tables, arranging chairs, running errands for last-minute items my mother had forgotten. By the time guests started arriving, I was exhausted, but I pushed through. This was family. This was where I belonged. The gathering was lively at first. I reconnected with cousins I had not seen in years. We shared memories, laughed about old times, caught up on life. My father sat in his wheelchair in the corner watching everything with tired but happy eyes. At one point he grabbed my hand and squeezed it. "Thank you for everything, son," he whispered. "I know how much you do for us." That moment made it all feel worth it. My father understood. My father appreciated me. Maybe that was enough. Kristen and Derek arrived an hour late, as usual. They walked in empty-handed, not even a bottle of wine or a dessert to share. Derek immediately started bragging to anyone who would listen about some new business venture he was supposedly launching. Kristen made a beeline for the food. Neither of them acknowledged me. After dinner, everyone gathered in the living room for coffee and conversation. The atmosphere was warm, relaxed, full of the comfortable hum of family chatter. I was sitting on the couch nursing a cup of coffee when my Aunt Barbara turned to me with a smile. "So, Stephen," she said, "when are you going to settle down and get married? You are not getting any younger." Before I could answer, my mother interjected from across the room. Her voice was loud enough for everyone to hear. "Stephen does not have time for marriage. He is too busy making money to support the rest of us." She laughed, and a few people chuckled along with her, though the laughter felt uncomfortable. I forced a smile, but something tightened in my chest. It was meant as a joke, I told myself. She did not mean it the way it sounded. A few minutes later, my Uncle Robert approached me. He was my mother's brother, a real estate investor who was always looking for opportunities. "Stephen, I have got a great investment opportunity," he said, launching into a pitch about some commercial property development. "I could use a partner with your kind of resources." I listened politely, then explained that I was not in a position to invest right now. I had a lot of financial obligations. I did not specify what those obligations were, but of course everyone in the room knew. I was the family bank. My mother overheard this conversation, and I watched her expression change. The warmth drained from her face. Her lips pressed into a thin line. She set down her coffee cup with more force than necessary. What happened next will be burned into my memory forever. My mother stood up from her chair. The room gradually fell quiet as people noticed her rising. She looked directly at me, and when she spoke, her voice was loud and sharp. "Everyone, can I have your attention, please?" She waited until all 40 pairs of eyes were on her.